Lilith, Algol, and the denied archetypes. We are going into the cellar of the astrological edifice, and we are going to examine the symbols that are often left out of the beginner's textbooks, the archetypes that make comfortable society and comfortable astrologers rather uneasy. We are speaking, of course, of the underworld of the chart, Black Moon Lilith, the star Algol, and the nature of what we might call the denied divine. Our first subject is perhaps the most potent, Black Moon Lilith. Now I must preface this by stating that the Black Moon is not a physical body, it is a geometrical point, the lunar apogee, the farthest point of the Moon's orbit from the Earth. Yet in symbolic terms, its power is immense. It has become the vessel for the myth of Lilith. As you may recall from the extra canonical texts, Lilith was, according to certain Talmudic traditions, Adam's first wife. Created not from his rib, but from the same earth. She was thus his equal, and her primary demand was equality in their conjugal relations. When this was denied, she uttered the ineffable name of God and fled Eden. When angels were sent to drag her back, she refused and was cursed, transformed into a demoness, a stalker of the night, a threat to newborn children, and a seducer of men. What a fascinating and terrifying narrative for the patriarchal structures that have shaped our world. Astrologically, Black Moon Lilith in the natal chart represents the point of our feral, untamable integrity. It is the part of us that says, I would rather be a demoness in my own right than an angel in your cage. It is the embodiment of raw, unaccommodated instinct, particularly the instinct for absolute autonomy, especially in the realms of sexuality and power. When prominent in a chart, conjunct a personal planet or the ascendant, for instance, it speaks to a profound, often unconscious rebellion against coercion. It is the fury of the silenced woman, the rage of the subordinate who will not be subordinate any longer. But it also carries the curse, a deep-seated fear of being ostracized, of being seen as the monster, the hysteric, the shrew. In the chart of a man, it can often project outwards, manifesting as a powerful, sometimes destructive attraction to women who embody this Lilithian energy, women who are unpredictable, sexually autonomous, and refuse to be controlled. It can also represent his own repressed, unacceptable wildness. In the 1980s, with the rise of a certain assertive feminism and the lingering conservative backlash, the activation of Lilith in a transit can be seen in the public sphere, in the figure of the so-called career woman, who is demonized for her ambition, or in the cultural anxieties surrounding female sexuality, from the pop star to the politician. Lilith is not evil. She is the price we pay for a civilization built on certain denials. She is the return for the repressed. Now let us turn to an even more ancient and arguably more violent symbol, Algol. Algol, or Beta Persei, is a star in the constellation of Perseus. It is known as the demon star. Its name comes from the Arabic Algol, the ghoul, from the same root as our word alcohol, the spirit. In myth, it represents the eye of the Gorgon Medusa, the snake-haired maiden whose gaze turned men to stone, whose head was severed by Perseus. Astrologically, Algol is the most malefic fixed star in the canon. Its reputation is one of brutal violence, beheading, and raw, petrifying terror. Where Lilith is about the fury of autonomy, Algol is about the shock of annihilation. When a planet conjoins Algol in a natal chart, it imbues that planet's expression with a potentially monstrous quality. Mars with Algol, a capacity for breathtaking, perhaps uncontrollable rage. Venus with Algol, a fascination with the beauty and the beast archetype, a attraction to dangerous liaisons. The moon with Algol, deep ancestral fears, a connection to terrifying matriarchal power. To simply label it bad is to miss the point. Medusa was not born a monster. She was a beautiful maiden raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple and then punished by Athena for the transgression. She is the ultimate victim-blaming myth. Algol, therefore, also represents the moment of profound, unjust violation and the subsequent petrifying rage that results from it. It is the archetype of the trauma that transforms one into a monster in the eyes of others. In a mundane sense, when a transit, say Mars or Saturn, crosses Algol, we see explosions of public violence, shocking acts of terror, the beheading of leaders or ideologies. It is the star of the guillotine, the terrorist bomb, the sudden, shocking collapse of order. So what are we to do with these symbols, this shadow syllabus? Well, we must understand that a horoscope that only shows the sun, the moon, and the planets is a map with the dragon-filled corners marked "Here be monsters." Lilith and Algol are two of those monsters. They represent the parts of the human psyche, and by extension, the collective psyche, that our civilizing process has attempted to eradicate, repress, or demonize. To ignore them is to practice a superficial and frankly dishonest form of astrology. The individual with a prominent, unintegrated Lilith will feel a constant, gnawing sense of inauthenticity, a rage that cannot explain. The individual with an algal contact may be haunted by a sense of impending doom or a fascination with the abyss. The goal of the astrologer is not to condemn these placements, but to help understand them, to see Lilith not as a curse, but as a call to authentic, fearless self-possession, to see Algol not as a predestination for violence, but as a profound warning, and a call to consciously integrate one's own rage and trauma, lest it turn others or oneself to stone. These are not comfortable concepts. They are messy, chaotic, and frightening. They speak of a universe that is not only harmonious and ordered, but also wild, dark, and passionately, dangerously alive. To study them is to acknowledge that the full human experience is not just about love and light, but also about the sacred rage, the denied wildness, and the necessary shadow without which, I dare say, the light has no meaning. The floor is tentatively open.